In the future, the world is twice subjected to nuclear war, turning most of it into a radioactive wasteland. Somewhere in a desolate junkyard, a masked scavenger picks up a miniature Statue of Liberty. A human dressed in patchwork rags knocks him down before snatching the trinket from him, saying it's worthless, and the scavenger pulls out a gun in response. The human reminds him that greeners aren't allowed to have guns, but he gets shot anyway. In a darkened room, Sam Hell is bound to a chair and denies having slept with his interrogator's daughter. The interrogator, Captain Devlin, smashes a bottle on Sam's head and threatens further violence against him. The captain is interrupted by medtech nurses Patton and Spangle, who have come to claim Sam as property of the provincial government. Patton reveals Sam's potent reproductive capabilities, much to Devlin's disbelief, and denounces the outlaw's criminal reputation. As Spangle treats Sam's wounds, Patton informs Devlin that he's now reassigned to the Border Patrol. Enraged, Devlin attempts to hit Sam, but Spangle intercepts him with an expert throw. The humiliated captain insults Spangle and then threatens Sam should he ever slip away from Medtech's protection. Later, at Medtech headquarters, Sam observes various propaganda material about making babies. He glares at the reinforced codpiece fitted to him while Patton marvels at his virility. Patton offers Sam a clean slate in exchange for enlisting in Medtech's mission to explore the wasteland and impregnate fertile women. Spangle has Sam sign contract papers and proceeds to unbind him. Patton explains that when nuclear war decimated 68% of the male population, the still warring countries now race to repopulate their ranks. Sam squirms against the locked codpiece, which Patton calls the ECR and is accessed only by medtech personnel. He objects to the contraption's use, but Patton says that by virtue of his reproductive bits now being government equipment, they now have to be protected. The medtechs receive a mission briefing via pre-recorded video message from a government official. A tribe of mutant greeners has attacked one of their mobile brigades, killing 210 men and women and abducting several others. The report also mentions the rebel greeners' use of firearms obtained from an unknown source. The following day, Spangle introduces Sam to Corporal Sentinella, who will be accompanying them on their rescue mission. Spangle vows to protect her male charge at Patton's behest. Sam, Spangle, and Sentinella then drive through the wasteland in their pink medtech car. Spangle attempts to buoy Sam's spirits while questioning his flippant attitude about the war. He fidgets with his necklace, brooding about how that war destroyed everything he cared about. The group arrives at the border control outpost, where they're flagged down by 2 guards and their new commanding officer, Devlin. Spangle hands over their authorized orders, but Devlin antagonizes them. After a brief but tense standoff, Devlin lets them pass at Spangle's insistence. As they drive away, Sam complains angrily about just how dangerous their trip is. Spangle retorts that they'll be journeying to a mutant colony dubbed Frogtown to retrieve the abductees who turn out to be fertile women. Frogtown's leader, Commander Toddy, is believed to be holding the women for ransom since he knows they are a valuable resource to medtech. Upon rescuing the women, Spangle tells Sam that he is to get them pregnant. Later, during a fuel stop, Sam tries to escape under the pretense of needing to urinate. He doesn't get very far until the ECR starts beeping loudly and he doubles up, squirming in pain. Spangle catches up to Sam, explaining that the ECR security features prevent the wearer from tampering with it or escaping. She tells him that for the duration of the mission, they'll be acting as one unit. The group camps for the night, and Sam is about to sleep when Spangle steps out of her tent in seductive undergarments. She makes advances on a dismissive Sam, but then he relents, prompting her to activate the ECR's electric stinger. Sam is outraged by Spangle's confusing behavior, and she apologizes. She clarifies that it's her job to keep him in an excited state to stimulate potency. They trade barbs, and Spangle angrily walks back to her tent while Sentinella smirks in amusement. Later that night, Sentinella crawls up beside Sam to confirm rumors of his virility. Spangle catches them in the act and threatens to activate the electric stinger on Sam. She coldly reprimands the corporal for being out of uniform. The next day, the group dives through the wasteland, finally entering the mutant reservation. That evening, Spangle explains how they plan to get the abductees out, but Sam refuses to take the risk. Spangle reminds him of the contract he signed, which prioritizes impregnating the women over his personal safety. When Sam tosses the contract papers out of the car in frustration, the women leave him by the roadside. The codpiece starts beeping immediately, so Sam runs after the car. Much later, Spangle and Sentinella have already set up camp for the night when an exhausted Sam arrives. Spangle's motion tracker detects something close by, and they waste no time to give chase. They eventually catch their quarry, who turns out to be a young woman dressed in filthy rags. When they return to their camp, Spangle determines the woman is fertile through some tests. Spangle then sedates the woman to make her more compliant and orders Sam to prepare for impregnation. Sam complains about the hostile mutant territory for making love, and Spangle determines he needs inspiration. Spangle starts removing her clothing to provoke Sam with seduction techniques. However, Sam's simply appalled at the assumption that he's a machine that can perform intimate acts on command. Spangle tries her best, but she slumps miserably at Sam's apparent lack of arousal. Feeling bad for Spangle, Sam tells her to get dressed and proceeds to perform his duty on the vagrant woman as agreed. Meanwhile, a masked individual observes the camp from a distance. The following morning, the woman points Spangle towards Frogtown. She reveals that she escaped Commander Toddy's palace, where the other women are still being held. Spangle then directs the woman to head south towards Medtech HQ, assuring her that she will be treated well. The woman embraces Sam before leaving the group, which seems to bother Spangle. The three continue their journey and stop short of their destination to prepare for their infiltration plan. The plan involves Spangle pretending to be Sam's prisoner, and Sam taunts her with the role reversal. They continue butting heads until they arrive at the outskirts of Frogtown, where Sam adjusts Spangle's appearance. Sam and Spangle finally enter the desolate landscape of Frogtown, an abandoned industrial complex looking extra ominous at dusk. They climb towards a saloon where a humanoid frog in a gown dances on top of the counter amid a crowd of other greeners. They approach the bar, where Sam bumps into an old friend, an elderly human named Lonnie. Lonnie informs Sam of the uranium trade he's got going with the greeners. Sam tells Lonnie he's looking to trade Spangle for some money, and the old man refers him to Leroy, the saloon owner. Lonnie goes to talk to Leroy first, and Sam shares with Spangle how the old man took care of him in his younger years. The dancing greener then bumps into Sam and Spangle, muttering, "I love you." Spangle explains that the dancer is their contact, a handmaiden in Toddy's palace, informing them in code that the plan is going well. Lonnie then pulls them away to meet Leroy. Sam, Spangle, and Lonnie dine with Leroy, a well-dressed, affable greener who marvels at Spangle's beauty. He remembers a fellow greener called Bull bringing a group of similarly attractive women not long ago. Lonnie tells Sam that Bull is Commander Toddy's trusted butler, who hates humans. Leroy gets worked up at the human animosity towards greeners. Leroy and Sam haggle over Spangle's value. Just as Leroy is about to ask Spangle for a dancing demo, she is snatched by Bull, the commander's right-hand man. Sam introduces himself, but Bull nulls the deal with Leroy citing Toddy's laws prohibiting private barters in Frogtown. The two get on each other's nerves, culminating in Bull knocking Sam unconscious. Then, Bull shuts down Leroy's saloon and takes Spangle away. Sam is nursed back to consciousness by the dancing greener, Arabella. She tells him that Spangle has been taken to the palace to become part of Toddy's harem. Sam's kind nature prompts Arabella to make advances on him, and he reluctantly rebuffs her. Meanwhile, Bull orders a couple of greener guards to take Spangle straight to Toddy. Afterwards, he beckons a masked man to help him identify someone. Sam tries to escape Arabella, but the ECR suddenly starts beeping to indicate Spangle is getting out of range. Arabella trips while attempting to take Sam to Tunnel 43, where she expects Toddy to be. Sam makes his way to the location, noticing the ECR has stopped beeping to let him know Spangle is nearby. In the tunnel leading to the uranium mines, Spangle is presented to Commander Toddy. Toddy calls for Count Sodom, a masked human with whom he concludes a mysterious deal. Sam sees the whole thing play out, but the balcony he's leaning on collapses. He falls on one of Sodom's crates, revealing its contents to be guns. Toddy orders his guards to take Sam away. Arabella sees the entire thing from a different hiding place where she bumps into Lonnie, feeling a little hopeless about the situation. A little while later, Spangle awakens to the group of captured women performing a strange ritual on her. She discreetly informs them of the rescue mission, and one of the women tells her that her body is being awakened via the ritual. In another chamber, Sam is tied up and being prepared for torture by Bull, who grabs and revs the chainsaw. Back in the ritual chamber, Spangle starts to feel alive. One of the women tells her that the ritual is necessary to help her face the dance of the three snakes. In the torture chamber, Bull attempts to use the chainsaw to break the ECR open. Sam warns him that doing so will blow up the codpiece, but Bull dismisses it as a bluff. However, the chainsaw runs out of gas. When the ritual cloth brushes against Spangle's earring, the ECR starts electrocuting Sam's groin. He screams at Bull in pain, telling him to hurry with cutting down the codpiece. Elsewhere in the palace, Arabella and Lonnie sneak around while planning how to salvage the rescue mission. Arabella takes on rescuing Sam, and Lonnie is to fire the signal flare for Sentinella. Bull successfully cuts through the ECR, holding up the front part and taunting Sam about its security measure. As Sam starts to think the explosive was fake and Spangle lied to him, the codpiece suddenly blows up in Bull's face. In the harem chamber, Spangle tries to convince the women to escape with her. A greener guard shows up to take Spangle away, but she neutralizes the threat with a few good hits, impressing the women. Spangle gets taken away by two guards anyway. In the torture chamber, Arabella finds Sam and unties him. Before they can get away though, Bull appears, brandishing a drill bit and stabs Arabella. Enraged, Sam grabs Bull and slays him with the same drill bit. Sam glances at Arabella's motionless body and turns away with a determined look on his face. Spangle is finally presented to Commander Toddy and he orders her to dance the dance of the three snakes. While stiff and awkward at the start, Spangle starts dancing more gracefully and seductively, and Toddy gradually gets captivated. Outside the palace, Lonnie runs into a greener, so he shoots him with a flare gun and the shots streak across the night sky. Then Sentinella recognizes the signal and gets in the medtech car. Back in the palace chamber, Spangle succeeds in arousing Toddy. The commander lifts his garments to reveal his three snakes and beckons Spangle to him. Disgusted, she kicks Toddy thrice in the groin. The guards aim their firearms at Spangle, but Sam breaks through the door wielding two shotguns and takes out the guards. Meanwhile, the commander manages to leap out of the way and escape. Sam helps Spangle up and they briefly share a tender look. Soon after, the two make their way to the harem's chambers and spot a couple of armed greeners standing guard. Spangle remembers the masked man calling himself Count Sodom as Frogtown's supplier of firearms. She notices Sam fidgeting with the necklace again and asks him about it. He says it's his daughter's, serving as a stark reminder of what the war cost him. Spangle distracts the guards with a crazy lady act, then proceeds to take them down with a flurry of well-placed hits. Sam wonders if she even needs him, and Spangle kicks the door open to free the shocked harem. Sentinella arrives at Toddy's palace and points her light machine gun at the greeners guarding the entrance. The guards drop to the ground and she honks the horn to signal Sam and the others. Toddy intercepts them with a posse of guards, but Lonnie shows up to distract the mutants with a barrage of flares. The group gets into the medtech car as Sentinella keeps her gun trained on the greeners. Sam rescues Lonnie and takes the old man with them. Sentinella keeps a couple of greeners away with a barrage of bullets as they drive away from the palace. Toddy screams at his guards to do something about the escaping humans. As the medtech wagon leaves Frogtown at full speed, Toddy's squad prepares a menacing vehicle with a long-mounted turret. Driving through the wasteland, Sam compliments Spangle's plan. One of the harem women notices that Lonnie is bleeding badly from the head. Sam tries to provide comfort, but Lonnie reassures them, then passes away. Sentinella warns the group of something pursuing them. They almost get hit by a tank shell and the medtech car screeches to a halt. Toddy and his posse arrive in a heavily modified muscle car with a tank turret protruding from the passenger window. Spangle floors the accelerator and the group speeds away from Toddy while dodging cannon bombardment. Sentinella manages to shoot down one of Toddy's guards, but the corporal gets shot in the arm and has no choice but to take cover inside the car. Spangle tries losing their pursuers through rocky terrain when an explosion causes them to stop. The masked Count Sodom appears before them, wielding a rocket launcher and tells them to get out of the car. At the same time, Count Sodom removes his mask, revealing himself as Devlin. He hates that the world is being run by women and admits to dealing arms to the greeners in exchange for uranium. His goal is to develop a nuclear weapon and use it to exterminate the medtechs, at which point he aims a gun at Spangle. With the harem woman cross as help, Sam manages to reach for his sword and throw it at Devlin, who falls off a rock outcrop. Sam finds his sword and Devlin's gun on the ground with a trail of blood leading away, and he tells Spangle to go wait with the girls. As he goes to finish off Devlin, Spangle tells him they'll be waiting for him. Sam finds Devlin lying prone on the ground and walks away, thinking the guy's dead. Devlin gets up from his ruse and aims the rocket launcher at Sam but makes a noise. Alerted, Sam quickly turns around to shoot Devlin, finishing him once and for all. As he takes Devlin's rocket launcher, a tank shell whizzes past him and explodes. Sam remembers Spangle and rushes down the hill to find the medtech car destroyed and on fire, with no signs of the girls. Toddy arrives in his tank car, thinking he finished off the women and Sam upon seeing the flaming wreck. Sam jumps out of hiding and aims the rocket launcher at Toddy, but the weapon malfunctions. The commander doesn't get his hit even as Sam empties his handgun. Sam flees and almost falls off a steep rock face, but Toddy catches up to him and disarms him. They brawl in the dirt, but Toddy maintains an edge over Sam, who struggles to gain the upper hand without a weapon. Sam falls on his back again, but he stuns the greener with a double eye poke. Sam almost knocks Toddy off the cliff, but the greener hangs on to one of his legs. As Sam tries to kick Toddy to get rid of him, he manages to grab the sword to slice the greener's hand off, and Toddy falls to his demise. Sam returns to the destroyed medtech car, feeling hopeless. Just then, Spangle appears and rushes to him. They argue for a bit, and Spangle finds that Sam's ECR has been taken off. She wonders why he hasn't escaped, but Sam teases her about missing him, and they lock lips fiercely. As they prepare to leave, Sam hands Sentinella his necklace as a token to relieve her loneliness. Sam then gets into the driver's seat as Spangle tells him about filing for vacation once he fulfills his duties, to Sam's puzzlement. She gestures towards the harem, smiling at him, reminding him of his deal with MedTech. Finally, Sam comes to terms with his life as a soldier, and they drive off in Toddy's tank car.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.